Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest, and by the end we will have learned something new, and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
And I'm Buzz. And I've been looking forward to this one because we actually went on the road. We took the Now We Know Show podcast on the road.
On the road show?
Yes.
Ta-dum.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, well, we need a little ta-ta-tum. Anyway, yeah, so we went on the road and we went to visit the Cryptid Conference UK.
So this is actually the first time the Cryptid Conference has been held in the UK, isn't it?
And that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode.
Yes, in our experience, because obviously we've done a lot of Bigfoot-related things in the past.
Mothman, Dogman.
All the wonderful world of cryptids,
stuff,
yes, as well.
Paranormal.
So it'd be exciting to see what we got up to.
What this was all about.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes. So, before we get into the wonderful world of cryptids, it's time for Weird and Wonderful!
And the title of this one, is Cryptozoologist Bags Bigfoot Knocker.
Ah, so this is very, very on topic, isn't it?
This is very on topic.
And it's also quite close to home on this particular
I say
fact,
I
yes.
couldn't resist, but we couldn't resist.
No.
Because this particular... it's something quite... I think it's exciting anyway.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure some people out there will think we're mad.
Yeah, it's not something that happens every day, but we think it's both weird and wonderful. So we went to the conference, and we'll obviously get to that as we go, but they had a silent auction. Okay, and basically what that means is they had a lot of items. Kind of sum up.
It was lots of signed books and photos of all the big names in cryptozoology.
Yeah, one of the things that we'll discuss in this podcast is about a new documentary that is being made, and as part of that documentary, we had all like the big crypto names, especially the Bigfoot guys.
Yes.
So we had the 3 R's, didn't we?
Yep.
Which are Renee Holland.
RPG, Ryan Golombesky, and Ronnie LeBlanc.
Ronnie LeBlanc, which we've spoken about many times and had much fun over, because I'm Ronnie LeBlanc.
Ronnie LeBlanc.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like something out of Hello Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Ronnie LeBlanc.
Anyway, so the story.
We got this... We were there, and there was this silent auction, and it got lots of items, signed photos, signed posters, things like that. But there was a Bigfoot knocker.
Yes.
Okay.
A prop from the film, screen used.
Screen used. And so this Bigfoot knocker had been signed by all the cast and crew and anybody. And we decided to put
we put a punt in.
Yeah,
in the auction.
Well, you said, go on, Buzz.
Go on.
So I went and stuck a punt.
It would be a great, like, in the future, if we ever open like a museum piece or anything, it'd be great for that as well.
So I put a punt in, and then somebody else put a punt in.
Yeah.
And then...
It was kind of a small bidding war. Up until, like, the final minutes, where we just...
You went and nudged it.
I went and nudged it just because.
And then they announced the silent auction.
By this point, I really didn't think we were going to get it.
No.
You're
giving the game away now.
Well, I mean, you said we put a punt in for this thing.
Okay, and so we are very pleased to reveal that Zak won the auction.
Yes, I did.
And so he is the cryptozoologist Bags Bigfoot knocker.
Yes, for those audio listeners out there, I am holding what is basically a bat.
It's a softball bat.
A softball bat, but it has been used for tree knocking to call Bigfoots.
Yeah, so
big feet.
Well, that's interesting because you say that
because they don't hop. Do they?
That was one of the things that came up. Is do you call that is the plural of Bigfoot? Yeah. Bigfoots or big feet
or big. Yeah.
So anyway, so it's quite common.
I'll just put it closer to the camera.
So if you're on YouTube, if you're listening to this in audio,
I'll probably put a picture up
we'll
on
stick a picture up
on the
we can make it
channel pages and things.
Yeah, we can make it the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
well, we'll see.
We'll see. But anyway,
on here it is signed by all the big names that were involved in the project.
Yes, and
3
Daniel.
R's and Daniel on the end, just there.
Daniel.
He presented it to us. Well, me. I was on stage. You got video.
I got video.
That was really
So
cool.
on stage. Because Daniel, the documentary is all about Daniel.
Yes, it's called Mythical Legends: My Bigfoot Life.
All about Daniel.
All about Daniel and his Bigfoot story.
Exactly.
Of hunting cryptids.
Exactly. And of course, as any cryptozoologist knows, when it comes to Bigfoot, you hear about wood knocking, where the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, skunk monkey,
yeah, rock apes.
They tend to like to knock, whether it's communication, whether it's signalling each other.
It's up for debate, isn't it?
It's up to debate, which we're not going to debate right now, but the thing is, they knock it, and so they use these bats. I mean, you could pick up a piece of wood in the woods. You know,
Bang-quibang bat.
It's a bang-quibang bat. Anyway, so you
do not use bat with hard balls.
Oh, there you go. Oh, hang on a minute. So you mustn't use it if you've got hard balls.
Yeah, sorry. They've actually misspelt product here. It's actually quite funny. It says product.
With an F.
With an F. Do not use this bat with hard balls. Product is designed for use with soft strike T-balls only.
Okay, well, it's obviously not got any warnings about hitting trees with it. So we got
the bats.
Weird and wonderful item.
Yes, I think it's got about 9 signatures on there, which is absolutely fantastic.
I just banged the mic. I do apologise.
Dun dun dun. These are new mics. Honestly,
mic knocking. That's what
mic knocking.
So anyway, because I'm not used, because we got those people viewing, we got a new setup of mics. You see, we normally have a central single mic, but we've now got
trying out
mics.
A couple of new things, new toys on Amazon Prime deals.
Soft when I nudged that. That's soft. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the Weird and Wonderful.
That's the Weird and Wonderful.
We have got this amazing wood knocker signed. It is. I think it's quite an amazing kind of like keepsake.
Well, the thing is, it's a one of a kind.
Yeah,
There's never going to be one the same as this.
It's the first one.
It is the first one as well.
If they do it again next conference,
who knows? Who knows?
We can end up with 2.
Well, maybe we'll be guests. That'd be really cool.
That'd be good, because we have over many years, even since I was a child, I have always been compiling my UFO sightings and any paranormal activity and things like
which
this.
is kind of.
We normally get Glenn in. See, that was
he's going to be very jealous of the bat.
Glenn's probably going to be jealous of the bat, most definitely. But that's one thing that we should throw in there right away. That it was Glenn Sharp, who is our cryptozoologist specialist, who comes in to the Now We Know show, and he helps us out a lot with telling us all about what's going on in the world of cryptozoology.
Yeah.
And he'd recommended the conference, and he was meant to be attending, but unfortunately, circumstances dictated that he couldn't make it.
Much like Renee Holland, who was supposed to be there, but unfortunately she couldn't make it.
And so, unfortunately, Glenn didn't come. Otherwise, he'd be in the studio with us now. Yeah,
well, we did make an event of it. Obviously, this was held in Burnham on Sea. It was last Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was last Saturday.
And we kind of made a couple of days out of it, taking a little bit of
we decided we were kind of in an honour, because I think for anybody that decides to go to further conferences, and you go, because
this is the first one. This is the debut.
I think Daniel did an absolutely amazing job.
Yes,
and his family getting it organised.
Well done, Daniel.
But we had this sort of like dilemma: do we drive 3 hours to get there for 10 o'clock in the morning, and then drive 3 hours back? We decided, no, we're going to hire a little place out, which we did, and I think that made all the difference. So I highly recommend it if you're going to go to the conference. And it was a long day. Bless them. We also took Indiana June with us.
We did, yes.
Remember, Indiana June is actually. I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning a lady's age, but she's in her late 80s. But she was determined to stick it all the way through. She was. And she got loads of praise from all the crew there, and she absolutely loved it. She had a massively amazing time in the raffle. Yeah, she won how many things? I think she won what? She won a Sasquatch blanket. It's got loads of funny Sasquatch quotes on it. Yeah, that was really cool. She got a cryptid coffee mug. Big packet of biscuits, which I must say we kind of scoffed on the way back. Did you buy a t-shirt? I think she bought a t-shirt. She bought a Sasquatch t-shirt, Proper getting into it.
Which is great.
There was something else you got there. It was something else in the back.
Well, if you look to the back here, I got this Mothman
signs.
sign and a Bigfoot sign over there.
Yeah, I got a Bigfoot sign as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, why didn't we bring that up?
Oh, well.
For the podcast, honestly.
We've all sorts. But
there's a tripod over there now.
But I did bring up the leaflet. So the Cryptid Conference leaflet, it has a list of the guests in there. So overall, we don't know what to expect. Because we've lived within the world of cryptozoology.
Yeah, kind of on the fringes, haven't we?
As a father and son team for years, and you've grown up with.
But we haven't really taken much of an active stance within the actual community.
But we've always done things ourselves.
Yeah,
we've always, especially we love to keep an eye out for any big cat sightings and things, especially in our area.
Well, just. If you ever want any proof, just go to the podcast. We've talked about cryptids since the very beginning. I think Bigfoot was episode 7.
UAPs, UFOs, as most people know them. As I say, I've kept records of those, my own sightings since I was a kid, and they do exist, and I have seen them.
That is absolutely fantastic.
My own peepers, and I can tell you.
Yeah.
And some of those, and again in previous podcasts, I've explained how I know that some of them probably were not extraterrestrial or anything like that, but they looked it, and it's telling the difference between the two. But there were other ones which were completely 100% not normal.
Certainly something for the future that we can look to explore in our own research.
So we've had a passion for this for years, and we always get Glenn in because we like to have a guest in that is a specialist, and Glenn's been an absolutely amazing specialist star.
We've also had Sarah Downing come in to talk about vampires and werewolves.
Yeah. And so we went to the conference thinking, okay, we've never actually been to a conference. I don't know really why we haven't, but
this was the first cryptid conference in the UK.
Yeah, I think they probably have small group meetings around the UK.
Because there's obviously there is a community.
There is a lot of groups within the community that probably get together and things, but I really love this conference. Yeah, on reflection.
Perhaps to kind of start off, we got there. What was the first thing as we stepped in through the door? What did we see?
Bigfoot himself.
Yes.
There was a brilliant guy there who is like
an absolute champ.
I should have had his card here.
It's Jack's Bigfoot, isn't it? Or something.
It's the Jack's Bigfoot.
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
The Britain's only and first Bigfoot.
I love that.
He's got a brilliant suit.
Brilliant Bigfoot suit.
Honestly, if I had that suit, if I was him, I would be going out in the woods with that. I would go out in the woods.
Well, especially in the UK, nobody's really going to shoot you.
No, that's really...
Don't go in the US.
Don't do it in the US unless you really know there's no hunters around. But
That'd be very brave to do that.
In the UK, you could pull that one off. But that's the thing, you see, that is the problem when it comes to cryptozoology and things like Bigfoot, is because you don't know when something is a hoax or when it isn't. When a sighting is actually somebody thinking that they have seen something, and it's
been an effect of the mind or something, playing tricks. Pareidolia was a big discussion point during this conference, which was really good.
So you can scoff about cryptozoology in different ways. I mean, but
that's the great thing about it. It's like so many avenues of discussion.
Yeah,
all these things.
And so we went in there, and you had the would you call it the crew, the people who were organising everything, and they were really
very friendly, approachable.
But the other thing is all the guests that were there. All the public.
It seemed like an absolutely fantastic community of people.
Yeah, I mean,
and that is absolutely
so warm,
commendable.
And everybody was so friendly, and it was just like you were meeting old friends, even though these people you'd never met them before.
Exactly.
The two lovely ladies that were in front of us in the seated area. Yeah. They were giving June sandwiches and things and sharing their lunch with them.
I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, they were sharing their lunch with Indiana June.
And these are people from the opposite side of the country or whatever.
They're from Wales, and they did message me, and we had a little bit of conversation backwards and forwards. So it'd be nice if it runs again next year, we can go back and see them. Definitely. So you had a sort of merchandise area where you had stalls. Because
in this hall, it was kind of, I think it was like a sports hall.
Yeah, it was definitely a sports hall.
Yeah. It wasn't the biggest sports hall, but it was of a decent size. It was actually bigger than I was expecting. And this kind of marketplace, lots of different stalls there. It was very much in that kind of Comic-Con style of things where it's like rows and stuff would be like books and signings, and there was even like a live podcast area that was continuing throughout the day.
That was the black and white
podcasters,
sort of like cryptozoologists. They do cover all this stuff.
Well, I mean, on that point, talking about podcasts, I'm pretty sure throughout the entire event we took place in at least, or inadvertently took place in about 2 or 3 different podcasts.
Yeah, because they had some live podcasts. Which were basically had all the audience on the podcasts, so
which was actually really cool.
I think it was all around the world,
beamed across to America, and I think the Mythical Legends podcast I think they recorded that round table section where we're all discussing all the different all different things about Bigfoot and things,
all the
beliefs
factors
and things.
Do Bigfoots come through portals and disappear again and have light reflective fur and stuff? It was fascinating. And I think that was a great thing with the conference because it covered so many different aspects of cryptozoology. It dealt with kind of what I feel is the real stuff. The big cat sightings, Bigfoot as a physical being, not some kind of
supernatural or even
interdimensional being.
Alien thing came up.
But it also went to what I would consider for myself the more extreme end, which did say, let's discuss, does Bigfoot go through portals? And they were saying, well, okay, this is fine, but why don't we suddenly have a portal open in the middle of Birmingham?
Well, that was the thing, wasn't it? I think there is an argument to that, apparently, that something to do with geomagnetism of water and rocks, and I think that's potentially a bit far-fetched.
But, they've talked briefly about the stone recording in the paranormal bit about ghosts, and, my opinion on stone recording.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, I don't think so. And, it was good though to see all those different sides.
Well, okay. So, was there anything new that you hadn't previously considered that was discussed?
What I quite enjoyed about it because they did discuss. I mean, Daniel, the organizer, he was in all the sort of newspapers in the UK, wasn't he? He was in the media because he actually found some eDNA of a great ape,
which apparently was from a place within a 25-minute radius of this event.
Yeah, so he got there,
which is actually really exciting.
So he collected some eDNA and he had that tested, and it came back saying that it was great ape DNA. Now that's very interesting. But then the discussion was, can the UK support a kind of UK, for want of a better word, a UK Bigfoot? And I think you had a lot of the speakers in the round table they didn't want to say no, but they kind of wanted to keep it open. But there was that one chap whose name escapes me for the moment, but he was you'd need at least 500 breeding community to be able to sustain that. So if we have a Bigfoot in the UK, I mean, you've either got to approach it from the perspective of how we see all groups of animals. You need a kind of a base amount to breed that aren't going to have, to have enough genetic material to be able to keep the species fresh, or you've got to look the other way and look kind of paranormal or supernatural or
alien.
I think that's the easiest way to kind of explain these things. If something doesn't fit into our
classification
of something being flesh
normal.
And blood,
yeah,
then you fly off to the more fanciful things and say that Bigfoot is an alien and beams in once in a while, but he always beams in somewhere where it's in the middle of nowhere where nobody is ever going to believe the person who's seen it.
Maybe that's just because he needs the loo.
Yeah, maybe.
That was postulated.
Yeah, it was postulated that who's coming out
using Earth as a
dumping ground, to put it bluntly.
Oh no!
That
was a brilliant way of putting it.
Most humans use it as a dumping ground anyway.
So burn. Burn.
Ouch. So yeah, no, and I think that was great because I don't like to scoff at people's beliefs or whatever they feel on certain subjects, and I think it's good to kick these things around. And sometimes you can kick these things around, and it can open new doors, new avenues you hadn't thought about. And for me,
in one sense,
okay,
one thing that I hadn't really considered, I didn't really know much about, was this tree crosses thing.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going to go. You asked me what I found very interesting about it, and it was the American.
It was the Brian King Sharp, wasn't
it? But also
did a lot of
Gwendolyn
stuff on that.
Purcell. See, I'm just checking the names here in the leaflet, because they both flew in from the States, and of course in the States you have got far higher potential of having Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
All these types of cryptids,
all these different types of cryptids, but specifically Bigfoot. You've got the space there. And I've been to North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and I've seen these huge forests like the Smoky Mountains and the Blue Ridge Mountains, and you can very easily say there are things that could live.
Well, that's the thing. Over in America, of course, it's a confirmed thing that you're going to have these big cats.
Well, of course. Well, of course you have. I mean,
you're going to have these.
In the UK, we're still kind of debating, even though you're getting sightings all the time of the big cats in the Beast of Bodmin Moor kind of thing.
Classic.
There's still no actual evidence, but in America, of course they have mountain lions. Of course they have big cats and things.
Yeah.
And that
that's
goes
something I hadn't really previously considered.
Hunters, shoot them. If I don't know what the laws are in America, but the thing is, they are there.
They
it's
are
a proven
there.
thing.
Yeah.
But they still don't have any conclusive proof of.
At least hard evidence.
Although you are getting more and more videos and things coming out these days. So it was really interesting for those guests, the American guests, to tell us about the stuff that they've experienced in America. And so to get the lead of what you were saying is the tree crossing. We were getting, we had really quite a nice little sort of Excel presentation from,
kind of discussing this point from Brian King Sharp.
Brian King Sharp, who was showing us. He's bought some land. He used to be a police officer. When he retired from the police department, then I think he said he bought 88 acres of land or something like that. Didn't he?
Or some monstrous amount of land that I would absolutely love to have.
While he's been, did he say he was in? I'm sure he said he was in North Carolina, which I thought was very interesting because I've been there and I've seen the forest.
Because it was the one in his home.
Yeah,
that was the one with the gifting site.
Yeah, so he had got the land, and then he started to notice things, didn't he? And he's actually taken casts of footprints that have been, where something's come through his land, and then he noticed different types of tree crossing and tree breaks. The tree breaks we'll leave to one side because, frankly, I think with the tree breaks, I'd need to physically see it. I spend a lot of time as a forester in the woods, and you can get a fresh break, and you can see that something has broken there.
Yeah.
But is it something that's broken it, or have you had a particularly bad storm? Or
is
something?
It just natural causes?
For example, we have a small orchard, and it's funny.
Weird coincidence.
I joked to you because when we got back, I went into the orchard, and then I came back to you and I said, "We've had a visit from Bigfoot." And Zak said, "Yeah, what do you mean?" I said, "Because we got a tree break down there." And we went down there, and yes, one of the apple trees. Big tree break, but the thing is that
it's one of the branches, wasn't it?
It was obviously so heavily laden in apples this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like a young tree. This is a very old.
It's a very ancient old apple tree, and one of the branches had come off, and you can tell. Obviously, it's got a clean break. You can see the fibres where they're torn. And obviously, it's the weight of the apples in this instance. And what we're saying about in a lot of the forests that we looked at, the photos we were shown, a lot of them were spruce, pine forests, things like this, where you don't have that weight of fruit, and they're very, very perpendicular on them. So you might get breaks if you've got either a very bad storm comes in or bears and things coming through. Because obviously we're living in a country we don't have bears because we've shot them all. But in America you still have bears. So if you've got bears, then bears can go up to small trees and snap them quite easily.
I think that sense, personally, I think there's so many different factors because obviously you're just seeing the results of whatever's happened.
Yeah, when it comes to
you don't have like a cause. It could have been anything.
Yeah. What was more interesting was the tree crosses. Yeah, and this is where sort of two trees look like they have fallen, or three or four, whatever. But let's just say two trees have fallen and made a cross.
Yeah.
Okay. But he was seeing a lot, and he's not the only person, but he was seeing lots of signs where trees were in this cross position.
Yeah, it's formation, yeah.
This formation. And then maybe a third tree is added to it, or a fourth tree. But the thing is when you got multiple trees, some of the trees were kind of...
woven, almost.
They couldn't have just... They hadn't fallen on top of the other trees. It had fallen, but it was on top and then under another.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how naturally can this occur? You know, you can't just do this because they were seeming to be... Or
like the top of a tree wedged into the ground somewhere.
Yeah, now there was two things that sort of jumped out at me in that presentation.
How would that happen, and why would an animal do that?
Yeah, well, there was two factors in that presentation, and I'm glad you brought that up, Zach, because you had the very unusual one where you had a tree that you could have easily said it was a tree that come down in a storm because the root ball was up in the air.
Up in the air, yeah.
But the top of the tree was jammed down a hole in a bank.
Yeah. I wouldn't imagine a bear doing that.
Yeah, that would literally, from the photograph we saw, something would have needed to have literally shoved the tree down the hole. Because I can't see how it could have fallen and gone in the hole. If that was an odd photo. Leaves a lot of speculation. And the other one was where they got a sapling tree, a reasonable tree, but it was still a sapling. But it had been bent right over, and then the end of it hooked under another tree.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be like the wind has blown it, because it's gone literally right over to the ground and been jammed under a tree and stuck in that arched position.
Yeah.
Which kind of, that one struck me as being an odd one as well.
Well, that's the thing. I think in this case, for me, it's why, if anything, why would something do this? Is it some kind of messaging? Is it some kind of trying to create some form of shelter, potentially?
Well, yeah, you get these kind of like, they call them, I don't know if this is the correct term, but kind of like Bigfoot nests or
den type of thing,
where they put stuff together. We didn't really see much evidence of that at the conference, did we?
No.
But these, if you're talking about these X's, they were more like kind of blazing a trail. You know, in the old days, you know, when you're travelling across country and you don't know where you're going, you would usually take a cut out of bark, which creates a bright piece of the tree.
Yeah,
it's called a blaze, and you can follow the trail of blazes. It's called blazing a trail, and at the same time, you know, you would have places in a forest where, in America, the Native American Indians would collect any kind of animals that they were hunting in the area. They would stick the skulls on a tree,
right,
or they might hang a bark container on the tree and fill that with berries and things, any edibles that were in the area, and they became like that tree would then, anybody who finds that tree would say, I can see the different animals that I can hunt in this area. I can see what berries and things are available.
That's actually really
in this
cool.
Area.
Yeah.
So kind of like, because these were like signposts. Yeah. Kind of a bit like when we were over in Scandinavia and we ended up in Finland. And do you remember they have the small sort of Lavoo type huts in the forest, and you go there and they have already prepared firewood and supplies and things for people. So you have these points throughout a wood that, you know, if you find one of these points, that it's going to help you.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that if these are signs that are being left by a Sasquatch, by a Bigfoot, that perhaps they have some kind of meaning like that. It's like blazing a trail.
So in that sense, would
it
it be a sense that a Bigfoot would be doing this to communicate to other Sasquatch Bigfoots? Or would it be like some form of personal mapping?
Well, that's a good point.
Because this is where these crosses and X's and things, these breaks, they all seem to be very varied in what they actually look like.
Yeah, I'm going to leave the breaks for the time being, just because the breaks are exactly that. It's just a break, as a tree branch or a tree trunk break, and of course some people say, a human couldn't have done this because it's too big. It could have come down because of weight. It could have come down because of a storm. A storm could have come down because there's a natural fault in the tree.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or it could have come down. Don't forget, they have very big bears over in the States that
very
have
true.
decided to
very true.
pull it down. Even cats, wild cats, a big wild cat that might be climbing up a tree, and then the weight of it causes the tree to snap.
Yeah.
All sorts of things. So the tree breaks, I want to leave that for the time being because there are multiple factors involved in that.
Yeah.
But with this unusual formation of these signs, they could be a boundary sign, they could be a directional sign, they could be. I think what I need is to see where they are and map them out on a map. Take compass bearing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to look at it from one direction, say you were side onto it, it probably wouldn't look like anything.
Yeah.
But if it is actually meant to be a visual symbol or sign, you would map it out from the best direction, looking at it, and do the compass points, and then check that with all other ones and see if there's some kind of correlation.
That's
See
I wonder if anyone in the Bigfoot community's actually done that.
To see if there is they are forming like a boundary,
or a trail,
or a trail. If they kept going in one kind of direction. So there's factors there that need to be looked into, but also with the formation of these, being out in the woods, you get such a varied amount of different woodland, different timbers, things like that, that all react differently to storm damage and things.
Yeah.
That I'm very interested, after going to the conference and seeing this evidence presented, to go to places in the UK where I would say it's probably pretty unlikely that we have a UK Bigfoot. Okay, I'm just going on the principle of how many you would need, unless they're popping out of portals, how many of a species you'd need to breed and sustain a community.
Yeah, because I think we're certainly in the mindset of Bigfoot, we would think would be more of a physical creature as opposed to this supernatural.
Well, okay, so
thing.
Again, I'll continue with my train in a second. Going back to that though, would a space alien who has advanced technology, who is popping out of portals or beaming down, then they say, oh, actually, I think I'm just going to make a debris shelter or break some trees.
There's two sides of a scale there, isn't it?
That's
primitive
that's more of a primitive
and the
action.
advanced, yeah.
I don't think that they would. I think more of a primitive creature, maybe a highly intelligent but primate type creature like Gigantopithecus, like Glenn has suggested, may well do these kind of things.
Yeah.
Because they want to mark their territory. But I don't put that down necessarily to an interdimensional being thinking, oh, well, while I'm here, I'm just going to bend a few trees.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do, going back to my train of thought, is go to forests that are very similar to the ones that we were looking at, which might be the Kilda Forest up in Scotland and places like that, and actually look and see if we can see the same kind of formations.
Yeah.
Because if you can see the same kind of formations, even you could even say weirdly, trees that seem to have fallen, but how could they have fallen and become interlocked?
Way. Yeah.
Wouldn't you therefore be saying that actually these are probably just a natural phenomenon because we are witnessing them in an area where it's pretty unlikely you got Bigfoot? Yeah. But if you found you spent your time observing these things and came across nothing like that at all in an area across a country where you don't expect to get a Bigfoot, then you go, okay, well maybe there is something to do.
Well, that is of course the thing, and that is why we look into these things to see what on earth could have done these things.
I think we're going to be looking for those sorts of things more. When we're out and about on our on our expeditions than perhaps we have in the past.
So another thing that I noticed at the conference that I didn't actually know or have much knowledge on, actually, to be honest, coming to mind, I think Glenn might have mentioned it in one of our previous podcasts, that a Yeti isn't actually white.
Yeah, that was that gentleman said
that they're kind of more gingery, blacky grey.
Yeah,
brown,
and that it's a bit of a fallacy to sort of think of the abominable snowman having white.
Yes, because that was the thing. It was a mistranslation, wasn't it? That I can't remember the exact wording, but it meant man of the mountain as opposed to man of the snow.
Well, even taking the man of the snow, it didn't really. It doesn't really say that that's the colour that it should be.
Well, I suppose.
But if you did see a shaggy hominid in the mountains and it's been snowing, they might be
Covered in snow.
Covered in snow. I mean, you only have to go out in a snowstorm and you end up getting covered in snow.
Well, yeah.
And of course, you've got other big predators like polar bears, who I believe their polar bear fur is pretty translucent. They're not actually white, but it gives the impression that they're white. So who knows?
On that, okay.
But like, if you go to one of the Diavolov Pass,
yeah,
the photograph of that is completely dark. You're in a snowy environment. So, so I don't know. Well, but then again, you could throw up the odd albino, maybe.
Well, there is that. There's all these different angles you can approach these things.
Yeah, I think what you may well have with Bigfoot, with Sasquatch, with these, I'll just try to think. There's so many different names of this
Yeti,
type of
rock
creature.
Rock ape. Skunk ape.
Throughout wherever these vast areas of the world where they might exist, I mean, they could be very solitary, they could be very widespread, and very varied in the way they look. So, until we actually get any solid evidence, and the problem we've got now in the 21st century with things like AI and everything, literally you can stick video up.
Yeah,
we could go to back down to the production studio and probably knock up a Bigfoot video.
Yeah,
and it's totally,
I wouldn't really help. I don't think that would really help the proving of these things.
What it does is it adds to the disbelief in it.
Yeah,
and I think that was one of the things that also came up, and I can't remember which was it was from one of the chaps in America. The very enthusiastic guy. Was it RPG?
I think most of them were enthusiastic.
RPG was the first live. He was doing a live broadcast to us, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was saying what you got to do is you have got to suspend your disbelief when it comes to cryptozoology, because otherwise you're going to be sort of like battling to see your way through things. But adding all these fake videos and things, I don't think really helps. It makes it a lot harder job to do.
Yeah, especially if you are an onlooker into this community, it just emphasises that fact of what a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, when you go back to the Patterson,
and we don't want that.
Yeah, but when you go back to the Patterson Gimli film, I still feel that's very, very compelling. Even though afterwards, you've had the debates about somebody was saying that they were in a suit and they made, but the quality of the suit, the way that the hominid moves, and the fact that it was even a female. I mean, I don't think anybody doing a hoax would say, "Hey, let's put together a female Bigfoot costume."
Well, there's so many factors on that point.
I think that still stands out for me, that bit of footage.
And I mean, literally, I haven't done much looking into further videos and things of evidence, but if a suit were being made of that quality at that time, why haven't we seen something since?
Well, that's it. I mean,
if it were fake,
you think you'd have a lot of fake videos.
So trying to cash in on this community.
Find that there's somewhere in China where you can buy I mean, we spoke about that wonderful guy at the conference in his Bigfoot outfit.
Yeah,
he's obviously purchased that from somewhere.
Yeah.
So you these days you could have just loads of people dressed up as Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the cosplay community, you'd quite happily see something like Bigfoot wandering around a Comic-Con,
but maybe not in the woods in America, as you say, because you're more likely to get shot at.
Yeah, there is that.
Because I think they have I think they were saying they have and so I have been to the States, but I wasn't familiar with this particular rule. I don't know if you call it a law, but they were saying it was the purple tree banding, where if you've got property, you put purple bands around your trees, around your boundary, that this basically says, you come on my property, you're going to get shot.
Yeah.
Don't. There you go.
Soaring thought.
So I don't know if you want to jump around in a Bigfoot costume.
Well, in the UK... Well, we'll see.
Anyway, so
it'll be a bit hot.
So far we've really plugged it, and I love this conference, and I really hope that we get another one coming.
Yes, I definitely do.
But I will say that the downside for me on this conference from the onset at the beginning was the sound system.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to be negative, but the sound system, this hall, as you say, described as a sports hall, very echoey, very boomy, and for the first presentation, it was about that chap from up north, that young lad. Just thinking, was it Harlem Jones?
Yeah, I think that's it.
It was very Harlem.
He was very much on the
if you
big cats.
I could just make out your input, Harlem, on what you were describing to us, because you were talking a lot about Cannock Chase.
Cannock Chase. Cannock Chase.
Chase and the trolls and the dark-eyed children and the dog man and the pig man and all this thing. It was fascinating, but the problem was the mic. You moved the mic just an inch away from the face and it was cutting out.
Yeah.
And then if it was too close, the whole hall was booming and you just like almost blowing your eardrums out. That was a downside.
Well,
and also you had the chatter coming from...
That was what I was going to say on that front. I feel as if it would have benefited potentially from having like a separate hall for the talks.
Separate hall or as I was saying, you had a lot of chatter from the merch stalls behind as well, which didn't help. So kind of fighting each other.
Almost seemed a little inconsiderate on that front.
Yeah, but if you think about when you go to Comic-Cons and they're having their presentations and things, a lot of the time they have them with the black curtained areas.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that'd be possible, because if you could put some kind of curtain barrier around, it would absorb
dampen that noise.
Down,
I think these are all learning points, aren't they?
However,
for future ones.
However, they did improve it.
Yeah,
I think it was Daniel's dad was dealing with stuff, and he managed to tweak it. The mobile mic, the radio mic they had, worked really well. The radio mic was after that. They tended to just use the radio mic, and in the Bigfoot round table, I think there were two of them were sitting there with the cable mics on their laps.
Yeah.
But they were handing round the radio mic, and we could hear everything fine,
Yeah.
But then a couple of times they went back to the other mics, and it wasn't so good. So the radio mic worked a lot better. So that was my own, probably over the whole conference, that was my only downside, was that. And then when it got to the end, they had a special guest bit. And that was another chap from the States,
Ronnie LeBlanc.
Ronnie LeBlanc. I think Ronnie LeBlanc. The sound on that was just booming, and it was like, oh damn! I mean, I so wanted to listen to it, but it was just doing my ears in, So.
Well, don't knock it too much. This is the first time they've ever done the conference in the UK.
But this isn't knocking it. This is giving critical feedback, which knocking it. Yes. So. This is critical feedback, so that that things can be improved.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. This is not. This was, as you say, the very embryonic. First one, and I think it went really well. Really well.
We definitely want to go back
for a conference that was being organised. How old was Daniel? 15. So Daniel's 15. He's organising it. Obviously, his family's got part to play in it. And you've got all those special guests and guys flying over from America and stuff. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
I am not knocking it in any way. I'm just saying that, just to hit the sweet spot with the sound system.
So going back to like the topics that were discussed in the actual conference, another one that seemed to be quite a big one, which I hadn't really thought about or considered, was this whole orb thing.
Yeah, I wonder if you could bring up the orbs.
I was going to bring up the orbs because...
Has Glenn mentioned orbs before?
I think he has, but we haven't really talked much about the orbs. So the orbs, for those that don't know, are kind of these like small like balls of light.
Dragon Ball Z!
Maybe not that far. But there were balls of light that appear and then like disappear or move.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen videos
in unexplained places.
I've seen videos of orbs that have been flying around fields and then going through a hedge and disappearing off and things like that. There's orbs that appear in people's homes.
Well, that was one of the examples used by I think it was the lady. I think it was the lady there who was discussing it. And they mentioned the orbs. Somebody had mentioned orbs.
It was a chap.
And he saw it on like a shelf in his...
Yeah, he was saying, because he said
room.
His wife had a healing bowl underneath where the orb...
Recently, like, they had a fire there.
Yeah, and she does... I think he's a Reiki master.
Right, okay.
And she'd had a healing bowl sitting on this shelf. Yes, he made a point of saying that he actually had a healing bowl there, and then he took this photograph. I think it was just a random photograph.
Yeah.
And then when he looked at the photograph, there was this orb that was just sort of hovering above it. And
again, very small, but very distinct.
You described it because obviously we work with we deal with cameras and things all the time and monitors and things, and you said it looked very reminiscent because it was so small as a dead pixel.
Well, for me, that actually reminded me of when I first got the massive TV in this room. I remember the first film we watched was Army of the Dead, which was on Netflix, and there was actually a dead pixel in the lens of one of the cameras they were using to film that film, and that because my screen was so crisp, you could see everything.
Super AMOLED. QLED, okay, and it's a QLED screen, high def
4K. You see every blooming wrinkle.
It was the first movie you watched. And there's this dead pixel, and you thought it was the TV.
I thought it was the TV. I was like,
you were so annoyed. Because you thought, I've got this, and then
a bit of research later. It was actually
people all over the world were complaining that they thought their TVs had got dead pixels.
It was
the film.
The problem was at the source.
Yeah, it was at the source.
It was the cameras taking the film.
You know, you got to try and see if you
again. It's this kind of look at plausible explanations as opposed to jumping straight onto it could be aliens. I mean, what could the orbs actually be or mean? What would be the purpose of the orbs?
Well, it was Jonathan Downes, and he gave us a talk exactly about that, about approaching all this with a scientific approach, and that's where, and I agree with him totally. Come from a scientific approach, but that part of that approach would be, if I took a photograph, I would need to know whether that is light reflecting off airborne dust particles.
There's that.
Did I take the photograph with or without a flash?
Yeah,
which would play a part. What time of the day was the sun coming through a window, making a reflection on something? Was it bouncing off on a beam of light on something? The equipment itself would need to be tested just to see if there is a dead pixel.
The validity,
is that coming up at other times? Is it? So you got to make sure.
There's so many factors. So many factors.
Plus, it's difficult with the orbs because when you have a still image of an orb, it can be so many things. Now, two examples of that. Okay, two examples of that. The following day,
yes,
you were sitting in the car.
This is an interesting one.
And you pointed out. You said, "Buzz."
Well, it was actually June. Right, June spotted it, and then I just wanted to confer because, yes, she's old and she might have. Her eyesight isn't as brilliant as it once was, so I just wanted to check this. And she's like, "Oh, Zak,
Look, there's an orb."
There's an orb, and I was like, "Okay, let's see." And I look into this mirror.
There was a mirror. It's one of the wing mirrors on the car.
Yeah, and I could not explain this at all. This orb,
floating,
much like the examples used in the conference. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, I've got to get Buzz in on this."
Then I hear this distant call, "Buzz, Buzz!"
Now I took a picture on my phone of this as evidence.
If you'd shown me that photograph, that would have been very compelling. And I came over, and you showed me, and I stuck my head in the car, and I'm looking at the mirror.
We were trying to explain it, weren't we?
And I could see this orb floating in the sky. But then I tracked it around, and June had her door open, and what it was the sun itself was just beaming through a very heavy foliage tree, hitting the window of the car door, and reflecting off the window onto the mirror.
Yeah, which then we're obviously
presented it to look as if it was in the sky.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was just it was a light refraction.
Yeah,
bouncing
because we were trying all different things because it was appearing on you as well when you were walking there. So it was obviously something being reflected.
And then a further example of this, I was on a survey. In fact, last night, using surveying a building where we use IR infrared camera equipment. So I got all my infrared cameras set up, infrared lighting, and all this. The sun had gone down, and suddenly I'm presented on the screen with the semicircular line of orbs around this building. Yeah. And now this is an old manor house, which was quite dilapidated. But suddenly you've got, on the image on the video, you've got these very distinct circular orbs as if they are kind of like ringing around this building. If I presented that photograph as a photograph, or I even presented it as a short piece of video, personally, I'd say it'd be very compelling evidence of of several orbs appearing all at once. Because I got the video when they weren't there, and then the video when they all appeared. However, because I work with IR cameras, I can tell you exactly what it was, because it didn't take me by surprise. I just thought, wow, if you didn't know anything, you'd look at that and go, orbs.
Yeah.
But what it was is because this building is basically going to be demolished and actually relocated. Yeah, they don't want any of the people coming in and salvaging stuff off this manor house and selling it. So they've got security cameras that they've put up on the building, and all at the same time, after sunset, all the security cameras turned on their IR lights, and my IR camera equipment is picking up their IR lights, which all presented themselves as these glowing, floating orbs. So if you didn't know that, you could see that photograph. I could do a presentation and say, look at this ring of orbs, you know, and it wasn't. So that's the thing. When it comes to the orbs, I think you've got to be really kind of careful.
Okay, so
it was a fascinating chat, though.
Fascinating chat. So let's say, hypothetically, that orbs, they are a thing. They are a thing.
You do get ball lightning.
Yeah, okay.
Things like that.
They are a thing. What actually are they? What do they have a function? What is their purpose?
Well, that again
is it the paranormal? Is it alien? Is it interdimensional? What?
Or is it physical? Is it
a physical light?
A natural phenomenon.
You know. What are we saying on that? What could it be?
This is a great one to.
I just wanted to throw this around.
You know, I haven't actually. I mean, overall, obviously, you've grown up with the whole paranormal cryptozoology thing.
Exactly.
And through all my time, I've never really looked into orbs anything more than just passing.
Relatively, it's for me. I think the orbs is kind of something that I hadn't previously considered.
Well, I think it's because I've seen documentaries on orbs. I've over many years people witnessing ball lightning and things. I personally have never witnessed ball lightning. I have never witnessed a manifestation of an orb in front of my face. Yeah, I've just spoken
without
camera
being
equipment.
able to rationalise it.
Well, without obviously camera equipment making something seem like there's an orb. But if I could see something right in front of my face, well, that's where you get people saying that it's a paranormal entity. You know, maybe a life force or something presenting itself.
An apparition.
An apparition. Other people might feel that it's some kind of extraterrestrial thing.
Yeah, it's all these avenues.
I don't know. I really don't know when it comes to the orbs. I think I really would need to look into the evidence more, and I would need more than anything to witness it myself.
First-hand
experience. Yeah.
Because what I would love. In one of these instances, if we were ever fortunate enough to experience something like this, it would be to have that be presented with whatever it is, and to almost not be able to explain it.
Yeah, well, again, I wouldn't want to see an orb by myself.
Yeah.
I would want to witness an orb with somebody else, so you can correlate it. For example, I had a sighting of a UAP. This would be back in the 80s. It's probably one that stuck in my mind so much. I have spoken to it about it on other podcasts. But the thing was, there was 3 of us there that observed it all at the same time. That, I find, you can't deny that compelling evidence. It wasn't a group hallucination or anything like that. And in fact, 2 people had seen it, and they came and got me to come and look. Now, if it was a hallucination that we were all sharing at the same time, it was there before I turned up. Yeah, I was in a house, so I came out and witnessed it. So I don't think you just walk in and have a group hallucination.
No,
you know. So I need compelling evidence like that. Yeah. So the orbs open. I mean, we've done paranormal investigations ourselves. We use EMF meters, and we've picked up some very strange
went to
our most recent one.
podcast.
Our most recent one at Clop Hill, we were picking up weird readings.
Yeah.
And
unexplainable.
We kind of
weird
triple checked those areas, and we're getting the same readings again and again. And then we were looking around those areas for electrical equipment, for any power lines that might not be visible and all sorts. So and that was unexplainable, but definitely it was happening. Yeah. And I gave you the meter. You tried it. You were getting the same readings. So things like that I find compelling evidence. But not always. You can not always explain them away. Sometimes you can when you suddenly go to the other side of a wall and find that there's a load of power cables running up it or something. Whatever.
Okay, so obviously Bigfoot Conference.
Yep.
Or Cryptid Conference. What was your favourite part of it?
Favourite part was actually meeting everybody, the community.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. I could have sat there and been really bored. I could have been really like, oh, this is no. But actually, it was quite fascinating. I like to hear everybody's experiences that they've had, their presentations of their evidence. It made me want to go and revisit places. Like we haven't been to Cannock Chase for quite some time, and I want to go and revisit places. And also just the fact that the big cat sightings in the UK, they're becoming more and more prolific, and even in our area. So
which is really exciting. We're going to
chase down some of those, see what we can find. I know Glenn was out doing that this week, in fact. So he can present that maybe in a further podcast. For me, the thing that stands out is I just loved the community. I loved the camaraderie of everybody, and it was fun.
Now,
what about yourself?
Myself, I think the bit I found most informative and intriguing was the Bigfoot Roundtable aspect. It was where everyone was kind of throwing some questions around, and it brought up a couple of different avenues of inquiry, which was really nice. Because that's not what when you're watching these Bigfoot TV programs and everything. It's very much from a researcher's point of view or something. You don't tend to have them sitting in a room discussing stuff together. It's usually personal interviews to kind of put together in this documentary style.
And not everybody agreed with each other.
Exactly, and that was really interesting.
And that was good. The people weren't afraid to speak out and say, well, actually, I disagree with that.
Exactly.
So that was good. It wasn't everybody sort of being nice to each other
and people humouring each other.
And so that was good. Overall.
Okay. I think there is also one thing to top that, and that's obviously the bat. I'm holding the Bigfoot's tree knocker again.
That was the unexpected, probably cherry on the cake.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I got presented this on stage. And I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, "What?
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Was there anyone you'd like to thank?"
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you, Bigfoot Conference, or the Cryptid Conference.
Yes, because you weren't even expecting.
I wasn't expecting to be asked anything. I thought I was just going to have to hand them some money, and there you go.
Yeah.
But
it was funny.
That was a little bit of a personal highlight. You can't really replicate that.
Okay, I don't think that's a good way to probably round off.
I think so.
Round off. So if you hear of the Cryptid Conference, I think we've got to give Daniel a plug. His
Mythical Legends podcast.
Mythical Legends podcast
is plastered all over YouTube. Just look up Mythical Legends and it will pop up. He's got loads of podcasts. Definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth a listen.
A lot to see in the future from Daniel.
Yeah, I think he's got such potential. Such potential.
To see how things develop over the next 12 months to the next Cryptid Conference.
You never know. We might see ourselves there in some capacity.
You never know.
Taking a more active role.
We kind of went
in proceedings.
We went in there under the radar, didn't we?
Yeah. Wow, that was funny, wasn't it? Somebody mentioned about organising Comic-Cons and working with film stars and things, and I'm like, just look to the second row, guys. You got some film stars right there.
You got some people that worked at the big movies, people that are directing their own movies. That was quite fun. But yeah, we went in under the radar. We didn't want to tread on anybody's toes. We just wanted to experience it
first hand,
and it was great.
Great, welcoming community. Loved pretty much everyone there. And I can't forget Bigfoot. We actually made some actual contacts with M&M Productions as well, which is pretty cool. So it'd be interesting to see how that develops in the future.
If you go on Facebook, obviously with the Now We Know show, but you can always check out the Cryptid Adventurers Facebook page.
Yeah,
because that's the Facebook page that we've put up there. And I think looks like the Cryptid Adventurers will be doing more.
More openly recorded.
Yeah, we're gonna get our
adventures,
case files that we have compiled over the years, and dive into them a bit more, and revisit places we've been.
That's certainly something you can look forward to seeing on Zak Wylde Productions.
Because we've always done it for ourselves more. I think.
Exactly. I think it's about time
we
that
kind of indulged ourselves with the wider community
and shared our findings.
Because I think we've really only ever done it for our own fascination of the subject.
Exactly.
So there you go, the Cryptid Conference, absolutely brilliant. Which leaves us with one thing to finish off with, which is
what's that?
Wisdom of the Week. I didn't know if you were going to say it then.
I did.
Okay, so Wisdom of the Week. Well,
bestow your wisdom.
No wisdom. Well, I'm going to bestow a little bit of wisdom, which, to be honest with you, with all these signs that were for sale, there was one sign, and I haven't got it here, we picked it up, but it's a sign that it's a saying more than anything that I've used for many years, and as soon as I saw the sign, it made me smile, so I'm going to use that. And it kind of connects with being outdoors in the forest, in the wild. It says, not all who wander are lost. There you go. So, enjoy the countryside, connect. Nature is the best medicine. Get out there, and if you're into cryptozoology, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what you might see or experience. And if you see any orbs, let us know. Or any big cat sightings.
I mean, literally anything.
Yeah,
we would love to know if you have any sightings, if you have any encounters with cryptids, orbs, paranormal things, please let us know, because we would love to do a podcast on it.
Come and discuss it on the Now We Know show.
That would be absolutely fantastic.
That would be brilliant. And then here we go.
The world of cryptids looks brighter. Huzzah!
Does. Thank you, Daniel.
Yes, definitely. It's great conference. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a big tree knocking goodbye from Zak.
And a big I'm going to go and jump through my portal goodbye from Buzz. Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Keep up to date with everything ZWP on Facebook and Instagram, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And remember to join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access content and exclusive episodes.